So we realized we have no older men to be in the background, and was like, look, does anyone want to act? And everyone there was like giving us weird looks like, what are you doing? I was like, how are we going to meet old men? I had a light bulb moment, and I realized you can set your range on Hinge to like 80 plus.
How do you feel like the industry is right now towards writers?
It's like disheartening in many ways, but then also seeing that, okay, there is this new avenue, and I think if you can look at that and be like, maybe this is foreign to me, but this is a new avenue that seems to have a lot of promise. I think that does give me hope.
God damn, Remi, you got me fired up. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fringe Podcast. We are here today in beautiful Venice, California on this Sunday, and I'm sitting here with Remi Rosemarin. How are you, Remi?
Hi, I'm good.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This is incredible. It's beautiful out.
Amazing day.
So I brought Remi on because she is a writer here in Los Angeles, and I was lucky enough to play a humongous role
Yes.
in a short that we did last summer. Oh my God. Winter?
Mm-hmm.
I can't even
I know,
remember.
time flies.
So last winter I had a humongous role. I was on screen for probably 3 seconds, maybe 4 seconds.
4.2, who knows? We can go and check the tracks.
But I really wanted to have you on because I just thought it was so incredibly cool. Like how cool of like a production it was, how big of a production it was for this short film. I remember talking to you outside of Agbo one day at the Slam Dance writers thing, hearing you talk about this idea and like honestly kind of thinking to myself, because you hear a lot of times like people like, I'm going to go get money for this short film and it's going to be awesome. And I'm like, yeah, okay, good luck. You're going to go get 25 grand. And guess what? You fucking did it.
Yeah.
You just went out and you got that money. So I was so excited to come and have you on here.
You.
So first, I just kind of want to hear, where are you from?
So I'm from Connecticut, like suburbs of New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. And when did you come out here?
So I moved here officially in the time, it was like kind of, all COVID time, so blurry. But I feel it was 2021, the fall of 2021, but I had spent some time in the winter out here as well before making the leap.
Okay.
Full time. Like doing some Airbnbs.
You were just, what were you doing out here?
So when my lease expired in New York in the end of 2020, me and some of my friends from growing up from sleepaway camp, which kind of ties back into the short. It's a very relevant theme in my life, I think. Yeah. Sleepaway camp, but we all didn't have leases in New York. It was cold. We're all from living in the Manhattan area or suburbs with our parents. We were like, why don't we all just go, we're all working from home, we're all remote, let's just go rent a place in LA, somewhere warm. And from people we knew, we heard that LA, obviously there's nice weather. So our friends that were here were like, you could eat outside at the least and go to the park. The minute we touched down, my friend's dad texted her, just heard LA closed all outdoor dining.
Oh my God.
So yeah, not a lot of really experiencing LA, but it was really fun to be with my friends. And we just spent a lot of time doing karaoke, cooking, watching movies.
Where'd you do? Oh, I guess you can't.
No, we just did
karaoke
at home.
Yeah,
we just loved to all.
Which Korean karaoke places you go to?
Our camp just was very. There was a lot of singing involved in our camp, so I feel we all just love to do silly things like sing and. Yeah.
Sure, fun.
Not that singing is silly, but it was the way we did it.
Okay, so where'd you go to college?
I went to Colgate University. Colgate.
Okay, what was your major?
Creative writing. So I was an English major with a creative writing concentration.
Okay. So was it always in the cards?
I think I knew that I wanted to do something writing related pretty much most of my life. I've always been really into writing, reading. And I was always really passionate about writing in different mediums like poetry and fiction, stories, stuff like that. My mom always told me she thought I should be an author, but I didn't really see that path for myself.
Sure.
I honestly always thought I would go a little more into business, like marketing, which I did briefly. But yeah, I never honestly thought I would do screenwriting, just being from the East Coast and like I'm sure the Midwest as well. It's not really something that you see people doing often. Like now being older, I understand obviously a ton of people in New York act and write and are creatives, but the industry just doesn't really like permeate everything around in the way it does here. So I knew people who worked in production and Broadway and at like NBC, but in sales or marketing. So it was just a little different.
Right. So like always like adjacent to.
Yeah. And I never really I think being from like around New York, you obviously know that it exists and like know that you could be a screenwriter, that that's a real profession. But I feel like the only people that I knew that were doing it are huge names that are making it like really big. I didn't really realize, I guess, that it was a job that you could just do it and have a stable career. And I don't know, I guess stability depends on the time and the place. It's a weird word to say right now, but like I guess it just seemed more kind of like a far-fetched thing than a job that like a lot of people do have.
Sure. So I mean, you graduate 2019,
18, yeah.
18. Okay. What was that first job? So Colgate, remind me where Colgate is. I'm sorry.
So Colgate is in upstate New York.
Okay.
And kind of, I mean, I'm from Connecticut, went to school in upstate New York. Manhattan was like the next logical step.
Yeah.
And the Colgate network is really tight. And I, through Colgate connection, got a job at Business Insider doing like editorial kind of marketing. It's called product journalism. So when you read those reviews online, like where to buy the best mattress online, you might see my name on some of the bylines.
Really?
Yes.
So that was in college or just after?
That
college?
Was right after I graduated. That was my
first job.
Mm-hmm. I met someone at Colgate. So Colgate's like really big on networking.
Yeah.
And it's a small liberal arts school. So just like I think small, it's really cold. I feel like alumni, you kind of like all bond over this like shared misery of being in the freezing cold and doing just like nothing with your friends in the freezing cold.
Sure.
And drinking a lot of beer. Yep. To stay warm. Kind of got to.
Same thing in Iowa. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So you just go to AJ's and have like 12 beers and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at Colgate, that's the jug. But
nice.
Pretty much I just met someone who was at Colgate for an alumni event. Like we were all just like contacting and getting contacts of people who worked in different industries that we were interested in. This one guy happened to work in marketing at Business Insider, and my friend and I got his email. We reached out, and I just thought Business Insider at the time was like such a cool, such a cool company. They made all these like fun food videos, and I thought it just seemed very like glamorous to a recent grad. So I was sending him all these applications, and he was helping me like refer me. And I heard zilch from every single one. And then he was like, by the way, I'm not sure if you'd be interested in this, but there is an opening on my team.
Okay.
And I hadn't really heard of that area of like writing and journalism before. But the minute, obviously, it was on his direct team, like I sent in my application and heard immediately. I didn't even get rejections from the other ones. Like I heard nothing back. But this job, it's like I went through the interview process pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So honestly, I feel like that was a good first kind of foray, even though that's such a different industry, into understanding like the power of connections.
Yeah,
For sure.
Exactly. It's so humongous. So, I mean, you work at Business Insider. Did you like it?
Yeah, I really liked it. I had a great team. I had like a lot of fun doing the work.
Sure.
But I think during COVID, once I was remote, like the cool thing about the team I was on was it's kind of a mix of marketing and editorial. So you're writing articles, but there is this sort of like sales marketing angle of talking about a product to an audience.
Yeah.
But I always thought, as I said before, like I really did think I was going to work in marketing. So I wanted to have, at Business Insider, I was touching like a bunch of brands and writing about a bunch of brands. But I thought I want to experience what it's like to be in one brand and be like kind of, the voice of that brand.
Sure.
Having a little more like creative control over brand messaging and stuff like that. So I went to a startup after that.
What was that?
It was an oral care startup.
Okay. How did that come about?
I was just really relentless on LinkedIn. I saw one of the founders had an open or like looking for work. I don't know what something in their profile said they were like looking to hire someone.
Yeah, I think
they
that's like
didn't
a
say,
thing. I'm never on LinkedIn, but somehow I know that.
I
like,
forget if it was like around the profile or in their bio, but
you can do the same thing, like open to work.
Yeah, so I saw that, and they weren't looking for a specific job, but I just kind of kept reaching out because I realized, I think, kind of early that like I didn't have the technical marketing experience that a lot of jobs were looking for. Like, I was applying to a lot of jobs and just hearing like, oh, well, you don't have a portfolio, you don't have this, you don't have that.
Right.
So I thought, okay, like a really early stage startup, I don't know, it seemed more promising. They were kind of more open to like understanding me as a person and what I could bring to the table, which I liked that approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long were you at the oral care company for then?
So I was the first hire there, and I was only there for a few months. I got laid off, but that was kind of what like really sparked the whole journey to screenwriting. So
yes,
it was a good thing in a way.
Was it a bad layoff? Were you like really upset?
I mean, I was definitely upset because I was also, this was in the winter of 2021.
Yeah.
I was in Utah skiing with friends. We were kind of being like ski bums for the winter. So I'm having a blast, and I'm like getting ready to go on this meeting. It wasn't great news, especially, considering I was, we were skiing, we were spending a lot of money. It wasn't great to be like, oh shit, I don't know if I can curse, but
you're shake, fuck, cock. You can curse. It's
okay. Woo. But yeah, just like the instability. But I think it totally made sense. Like, they're a really early company. I think, they were like needed more help from the top than the bottom.
Yeah.
And they seem like they're crushing it now. So.
Yeah. Well, it's also 2021. It's such a weird time.
Yeah.
So many people were going through the same sort of thing like that.
Yeah, 100%.
But was it kind of fun after you get laid off and you're with your friends in Utah? I mean, it's probably like a little panic inducing because like you just spent a lot of money for ski passes or whatever, but I mean, you're still partying in Utah.
I had a good time. Like, I think I did get really lucky because I maintained like really good connections with people that I worked with at Business Insider and like the agencies that we were working with at the startup. So people had asked me to freelance for them, and I just like didn't have the bandwidth when I had the full-time job. But once I got laid off, I kind of immediately had people to reach out to give me some work. So I actually got pretty lucky in that I was still like making money pretty fast afterwards.
Sure.
Just because people coincidentally needed a lot of work, and like with freelance, it can be so up and down of what people need at what given time. So I wasn't super stressed, and honestly, it really didn't tarnish the trip. If anything, I was like, okay, now I can like ski longer hours, and I don't have to be in for meetings. We had like standing meetings, and I was on, I guess it's mountain time, and they were on East Coast. So honestly, it was, I think, like a blessing in disguise. I'm very much of the mind that things happen for a reason, and the whole rejection is redirection, and
there you go.
I feel like it put me onto a path that I'm really excited about. So I don't feel like that was something that like ruined my months or whatever.
Sure. That's incredible because I know so many people that something like that would happen and they see it as a sign, or they get like very resentful or angry, and they can waste a lot of time, or just handle it the totally wrong way. So if it sounds like you,
I mean, I won't lie, I was definitely angry.
Well, you can still be angry. Mad, and
I feel like if my mom listens to this, she might be like, "You were really angry, actually."
Yeah, but I mean, you still set a course. Yes. So this started the course as to like, I wanted to write creatively.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was kind of a mixture of two things. I've always known that I wanted to do something creative, but again, it didn't seem like super within reach. And again, like, loved both of the jobs that I had. I feel like I got really invaluable skills from both of them, worked with so many cool people. But I felt, like I just wanted to be doing stuff that was more creative,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't know exactly what that would be. I spent a month out here in April after I was ski bumming, and I was with an old friend who I think at the time was working in like post-production as an assistant. I forget what her exact job is. I don't know if she even knows how impactful this is, but we were walking around the canals and she was telling me about a project she was working on. And we were just giving ideas back and forth, and I made some joke, and she was like, Remi, you're so funny. Like, you should really be a writer.
Yeah.
And she is screenwriter as well.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, something's a brewing. Maybe I have a skill here that is marketable. And then that was probably in the back of my head. And I kind of just remembered that, that she did that recently because we just caught up.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I got home, I was just thinking about what was next, like looking for a full-time job, whether it was in journalism or creative marketing. I felt like, okay, I've done both of these sides before, and I wasn't really feeling pulled to like any direction.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother he had like a free masterclass subscription from college. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I watched Issa Rae's masterclass. And I love Insecure, like one of my favorite shows. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like I just started becoming like obsessed with the idea of writing for TV. I was like, this is so cool. I don't know. I just found her so inspiring and so motivating. And I think it just made me see like this is a real path. So I started talking to people that I knew who worked in entertainment, asking them about their opinion. Like, do you think I need to move? Should I be in LA? Can I try this from New York? And a lot of the feedback I got was like, if you're really serious about this, you'll have better luck in LA, especially if you want to work in TV. And I had a friend who needed a roommate in LA in the fall, and I didn't have a lease in New York. And yeah, I feel like the cards kind of just fell in place for me to kick it out here.
Bang. That was it.
Yeah.
And that was 2021.
Yes.
That you got here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you get out here.
Mm-hmm.
What's your first? Were you just freelancing?
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing at that time?
Yeah, so
pay
I
bills.
was freelancing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Freelancing, and then I have done like a lot of like part-time nannying jobs as well.
Okay.
So I forget like how late into me being here I started that, probably like the winter of 2022. I started doing that just because like I didn't know that many people in LA, one, and I felt like I was working remotely in my house all the time. And I was like, I want to just like be on the move and be doing a little different stuff. And
sure.
I knew someone that needed a part-time nanny, so I did that for a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first year was definitely, I feel like, honestly, a little more focused on like me just adjusting to LA. I did a lot of networking, a lot of applying to jobs that I didn't get. Some I got very close to, which I was very excited about. But yeah.
What types of jobs would those have been?
Yeah, I was applying to a lot of like assistant jobs. So production assistant, executive assistant,
like
at a production company.
Like production assistant, like you're going to big sets. Like that sort of thing? Like helping out on TV? Okay.
Like most
TV
of them,
sets.
Honestly, were a little more administrative.
Okay. Would you have been like in an office based?
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Didn't get any.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I think that's a good thing because I'm like not the most organized person.
Same.
And
yeah,
I don't know, like, yeah, I'm just not that organized. And I can like kick it into gear when I need to, but I think an ideal job for me would be more like a showrunner's assistant or something. Like, I'm great at problem solving, great at running errands, driving around. Like, I love tasks, but organization
keeping somebody's like schedule and like keeping track of
like that overwhelms me even for myself. So
it's a lot.
Like,
I would just
I
be
could
so
use an assistant, I think, to do that stuff for me.
So afraid of like obviously forgetting something at some point and just getting like reamed out, and it's like such like a isolating moment when you fuck up something like that.
Totally.
I've been up for some of those jobs, not all in like entertainment or like it's just a bunch of different jobs. Crazy hard to get.
Yeah, exactly. And like
weirdly hard to get.
Yeah, and I think especially in LA, like a lot of jobs are looking for people that have previous assistant experience, especially like at the agencies. But I mean, I moved here when I was 25, and I think because I had like the freelance work, it was hard for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna pause this, where I'm like having, I wouldn't call freelance stable, but I was making like good rates.
Sure.
I was making money, and it was hard to think like, oh, you know, should I put this on pause, take a huge like pay cut, and then also, you know, you're working really grueling hours, and I wasn't sure like when would I be able to write. And that was kind of advice I got from a lot of people, is like make money however you can, like whatever works for you, and have time to write on the side. Like I got a lot of that advice from people that are writers, is like, do what you have to do to pay the bills, even if it's something totally unrelated. Obviously if it is related, that's great, because like the networking and I think the connections you get from a job, like especially working at an agency in a mailroom, like they seem pretty invaluable. And that is something that I'm like, I wonder what would have happened if I had done that right when I moved. I don't like to have regret, because again, I think everything happens for a reason, and the chips fall as they may. But
I have opinions on that. When I first got out here, it was the same thing, but it was more for like, at that point in time for me, it was more like all like behind the camera type of stuff. Getting on set and like working up hours to eventually become like a AD or like whatever. I don't necessarily, well, one, now today, it's incredibly hard to get any of those jobs. But two, would those jobs really get you where you want to go? It's really
You never know.
hard. You never know. Sometimes it really works out for people. Sometimes it really does not. They work for people that are assholes and they don't help them at all. And it just goes nowhere.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like you never know until you do it.
You never know.
And I know people who have had awesome situations and they've got great jobs after getting off a desk. And but again, it's like you said, you could have the opposite. And
sure. So you're freelancing. You're making money however much you can. Where does were you working on any other projects before you got to last year?
Yeah, so the first 2 years I was taking some classes, like just trying to learn a little more. I took a sketch class. These were all virtual, but one at the Groundlings, which was really fun.
Like acting class?
No, like a sketch writing class.
Oh, I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah, I would honestly
That's cool.
love to take an acting or improv class, because
you should.
Yeah, I've been told, one, it's like really helpful for when you're writing, just to understand like how people are perceiving what you're writing, and how I guess sometimes writing, just understanding like how it's going to come out of someone, how it will be read, how it'll be acted out. But also I feel like it's just good for public speaking, and like absolutely. If I want to pitch stuff, I feel like if I had a little acting edge, that would be great.
For sure. I think it's, if you want to do anything, whether it's directing, whether it's like screenwriting, producing, it's not going to hurt you to know what like the people that are actually on screen have to do.
100%.
It'll make you understand. You'll be around other actors. You'll understand them a little bit more, because they're an interesting breed, and you'll learn how to like deal with them a little bit better. I would recommend it. You'd also be good at it. It'd be fun.
I don't know.
It's intimidating.
I had a cameo
it's not always
in the
fun.
short. I don't know if you caught that, but even the cameo, I'm like looking. I'm like turned away as far away from the camera as I could be, while like still showing that there is a head there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Can't believe it.
That was not good.
No, but I think that can only help you. But okay, so you took some classes.
I took a class at the Groundlings, and then a class, like a pitch class with a writer named Stan Zimmerman, who wrote for Golden Girls and Gilmore Girls, and then a class at Script Anatomy as well, which was like really cool. Like it was an outline class.
Sure.
But our teacher was like a working writer on a show that was like airing, while we were actually in the class, which was cool. Cool. Had just aired.
Which show, can you say, or no?
It was called Pivoting.
Okay.
It was about like 3 women.
What was it on?
It was on Hulu. I don't know if it was. It might have been on a network. as well, but I watched it on Hulu.
Okay.
But
well, that's cool.
It was a good show, yeah, and it was cool. I felt like we got a lot of like really, really strong feedback, which was the outline I used to write like the first pilot I wrote.
So you're writing, you're going to these classes.
Online.
How are you feeling? Like, how do you feel being here? You're in a new place. Do you feel like you have a good amount of friends? Does it suck? For me,
my first year in LA was really hard. I don't know about you. I really had a hard time. There was a lot of tears.
Yeah.
A lot of tears.
Yeah.
I feel like I made really good friends. That was like one thing that I was honestly pleasantly surprised by, was how like warm people were.
Sure.
Like I got introduced to a lot of people. Everyone that I was friends with back home, if they knew someone in LA, they connected me, which so grateful for, and grateful that all the people said yes and were down. But, you know, I didn't like really expect that. Like in New York, I barely met new people just because everyone from my college was there.
Right.
Everyone from my hometown was there. Yeah. Like
no room for new friends.
But even so, like I had never had someone come to me like, oh, I know someone new moving. Will you get lunch with them? Will you get coffee with them?
Yeah.
So I was really pleasantly surprised that when I came out, like everyone was so open. And I do feel like, especially for the people that aren't from here, what I've experienced is like everyone's, like pretty much all my friends aren't from LA. Not all. I have some friends that are born and raised here, but I have a lot of friends kind of from all over. And I feel like everyone, again, is just really welcoming, and like there's always room for, you know, someone else, and invite your friends, I'll bring these people. And I kind of feel like that's how we met, and it's nice. Like I was pleasantly surprised by that. But even so, meeting a bunch of new people and like having a bunch of new friends is awesome. But I think I was also missing like obviously the strong friendships I had at home, and my family is all on the East Coast, so that was hard for me. I'm really close with them. And I was feeling like I moved out here, when are things gonna start clicking? Like the path is looking foggy.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah.
And we also, me and Kyle talked about this a little bit. We came out at maybe the worst time.
Yeah, for sure.
I came out like it. Well, in Iowa, it felt like COVID was over. It felt like COVID was far away done, just because we were out at the bars again, middle of 2020. Like we didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Weird.
That was kind of like the vibes were in Utah as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So
not New York and
right. No. Yeah. You guys were locked in for another year. But you come out here and it was like, it was still a thing, and like COVID happened. With all the strikes that started happening pretty soon after we got here as well. And then also things just like jobs, things are leaving California.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of different things that are kind of going on that have really truly affected us, which can also, you know, be very difficult on your mental health when you're looking at outlook for your own career and what you're trying to do. So that can be hard too. When you also come out here, you don't have like deep friendships. Yeah. You meet a lot of friends really quick. Which I think LA for me has been surprising in that fact too, is like how quickly you can meet a ton of new people. Like, I know them, but I got lucky. I made some really close friends decently quick. It happened all at once. It was like one weekend we met like 7 people and we're all just like best friends. But that wasn't until like a year or so in.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
To like go somewhere new and you're trying something that's really, really difficult. Not having those friendships, those like really, really solid friendships.
Totally. Yeah. And I feel like now I've been here long enough where I feel like I do have like a really solid group of people that are like, you know, you kind of like become each other's support system, because all of our families and stuff aren't here. So it's pretty cool. I will say, like, regardless of where I end up, will always feel like this was just such a cool chapter for that reason. Like I think I don't even know what else to say besides cool. Like it's cool to see yourself grow as an adult that way, and just, I don't know. I feel like, being in LA has been like, even beyond professional things, like a really good time of personal growth, like being out of your comfort zone and having to do things on your own. Like I've gone to so many events on my own and put myself out there a lot. So
that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So then you are doing some of these things. What was that first, like, whether it was a job, was it cut off, that like the first thing that really happened for you, or what was that kind of moment for you, whatever it was?
Yeah, I would probably say cut off. Like, in terms of, do you mean like confirmation, like you want to do this, or
Well, confirmation, or just like I did something?
Yeah, definitely cut off.
Okay.
I feel like the only time before then that I can think of making movies is literally me and my friends in middle school, which I know this is not a unique experience for anyone that, had a MacBook in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
We would just make like iMovie music videos and little skits when we were hanging out.
Yeah.
But after that, again, as I said, like I was never really like a film buff. Like I love TV. I liked watching movies. I love comedy. So I feel like maybe my movie taste isn't the most highbrow, especially in a place like LA where there's a lot of enthusiasts. But I like a variety of things, but I never really thought of myself as like a film person. So yeah, that's probably the last time I can remember like actually making stuff was in middle school.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the short, I think, was the first thing that was like, I'm going to actually put something out there.
So tell me about Cutoff.
So
how did that start?
So the first summer I was here, which I guess summer 2022.
Yeah.
End of summer, early fall, I went to a birthday party of a friend that I went to sleepaway camp with. Again, sleepaway camp theme comes up. So her and I hadn't talked in years. Her name is Sophie, who you met. And she and I am chronically late to things, and I was late to her birthday party. So I was like, I'm going to stay a little after and help her clean up and like put everything away. So I'm chatting with her and another friend that's there, and we just get to talking about like, we haven't seen each other in years. It was so nice of her to invite me for her birthday, and we had like years to catch up. And I was like, what did you move out here for? I didn't know that. And we started talking, and it became clear she wanted to act, I wanted to write. And we were just like, why don't we just make something together? We've both been here for almost a year, and I'm sure you feel this too. It's like at a certain point you feel like, I don't want to say you're sitting around, like I didn't feel like I was sitting around twiddling my thumbs, like I'm applying to jobs, I'm writing things, but it didn't really feel like there was anything tangible coming. Like I was writing things that I was completing, but I wasn't really putting them anywhere, and I wasn't getting the jobs I was applying to. So we decided, let's write something together. Like this would be really fun, and we can film it and you can act in it, and that would be awesome. So we were kind of on a cadence of meeting like every weekend, talking about ideas. And we had the idea for Cutoff, but we put it down for a while because I think we just felt like this idea is really funny and we really love it, but it feels way too big for us to handle. Like the idea of, you saw like there was a lot of people on that shoot and neither of us had directed anything. So
yeah,
we didn't feel like that was something we could handle, like directing like 20 background people and a cast of over 10 people. So we were thinking of smaller ideas, and then, yeah, we just kind of kept picking stuff up and putting it down, honestly, over the course of like a year. And we were going to start doing something smaller, just like on our iPhones, filming around little sketches. But we kept coming back to the idea, and I think at a certain point we were like, why don't we just try it? Like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But all of these things, like, we can get someone else to direct it. We can raise money. We can hire people and have people help us with more experience than us to help this look professional and look legit. Like, I think once we had that set on our minds that like, wait, we physically could do this, that we were pretty set on it. And that didn't happen until like the fall of 2023. So fully a year later, we had been picking it up and putting it down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So what were the first steps? You decide, okay, we're going to fucking make this thing.
Yeah.
What are your first steps? You figure out how much money you need. Do you go find producers? What's the first thing you do?
First, writing it. So
yeah,
writing the script.
You have it.
Yes, we have that. And then
Did you guys co-write it or just you just wrote it?
Yeah, I just wrote it, but we had like shared a story by credit. So essentially, like we would meet, sort of chat about idea at large, and then I ran with it.
Okay.
But the idea was very much a team effort. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, so we sort of just started reaching out to people. Like, I actually had reached out to someone I knew who lives in New York who had just made a short and asked him, like, hey, do you want to help us produce? He was just giving us budget ideas, stuff like that, based on his project. In the end, he didn't end up working on the project just because it was kind of hard to, I think, like, being a producer in New York while we're working on this here and the shoot was meant to be here, like, it didn't just really make sense. Like, I think a lot of what a producer, especially in a short film, is responsible for is getting the connections of people who are gonna be in the crew. So we really needed someone with like boots on the ground here and a network here. And with such a small budget, like we couldn't really pay to like fly him out for that. So that didn't end up working out. But it was really helpful to just sort of get like a zoomed out lens of like how much could this cost and what could it look like based on what his looked like. And then we were like, we need someone to help us with directing because neither of us feel confident to do that. And we sent the script to a connection of Sophie's who is like a mentor to her. And she sent it to a friend who was like, I know a really young, like great female director. I'll send it to her. And we met her and we're like, this seems like a great fit.
Okay.
And so honestly, I would say that was the point where like things sort of started like a domino effect. Like once we had someone here that had a network here that has done short films in LA, things sort of started falling. Like our director, her name is Meg Swartlow, and she's done a ton of shorts, and she tapped one of her good friends, our executive producer, Jake Bradbury, and yeah, they've both just worked on so many shorts and have a big network here. So it was kind of like after that, I feel like things really started happening here.
Sure.
So that was exciting.
Okay. So then money.
Yeah.
How did money factor into this
scenario?
Money. Yeah. Like that's the first thing. I mean, you have 10 background actors. You have a legit director. You plan on probably shooting a couple days.
Yeah.
How do you figure? So you talk to somebody about the budget. Mm-hmm. You get a budget in mind. Is that kind of what you set on initially with your Connect in New York?
No, he had given us a budget that was a lot smaller than what our end budget ended up being.
God damn.
Yeah. And like, I think in hindsight, looking at it, I'm so proud of how it came out. And I think it came out in a way that like the cost is like I guess you can see the cost in the quality of the film, like the color, the sound, like all of the technical aspects of the film, I think are really, really, amazing.
Top of the line.
And yeah,
absolutely.
That's a great word. And that is because of money.
Yeah.
That don't come free.
No.
But I think I guess something I learned from this, and I'm so happy with ours, and I think the quality is amazing, and it was 100% worth it the way that we did it. But it's obviously I think it's possible to make a film and create something at any budget. You just have to be mindful of, if we wanted to do a much smaller budget, wouldn't have done a 20 plus person shoot. But I think it did make me realize, okay, we could have gone so many different ways for our first project.
Yeah.
And it is cool to think of you got a camera right here. You could just take this around and make something with your friends.
Yeah.
Not saying obviously access is important, and we live in LA where I feel like coincidentally we know a bunch of people that have film equipment because we do live in LA.
Yes.
But I was even thinking in college I wish I had taken advantage of the fact that my school rented out cameras and sound equipment to people for free. That's kind of a little tangent, but I think again ours, I forget how we exactly got to the budget. I feel like things just start happening so fast when you're in a scrappy short like this. It's again, we're lucky because our producers and director had a ton of experience making these. So they're kind of like, here's what we did last time and the time before, and you need XYZ things, and everyone just moves really swiftly.
Yeah.
And I think budget came from like, your producers, they read the script. Here's what it looks like we need. And then, we did end up making some like tweaks to the script just based on making it more financially sound. Like we had...
What were you going to do that you were going to spend more money on?
Well, actually, kind of your part.
Uh-oh. I got cut.
Yeah, you got cut off. No, we originally wanted someone to have braces. Actually, it's kind of Kyle's part. That was like Kyle kind of, remember, he came in randomly as the sweaty man.
Yes.
And that was because we had someone, I'm like, I don't even know, I guess, did I say what the short was about? Is that relevant?
Yeah, say what it is. Give the log line. Pitch.
The log line is not coming to mind immediately. Let me.
Did you have? Do you have log lines for shorts?
3. Yes, I did have a log line. We did have a log line. Wait,
I mean, Remi, you were able to raise what, $25,000 for this fucking thing? Did you have to ever give like pitches to people? Or
no.
I guess, yeah. How?
We honestly just got very lucky in that, like,
the script was amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is that what people actually read it and then they're like, oh fuck, this is good. Let's find a way.
Well, so we did like a SAG micro, which is
I
think $20,000. I forget the exact number, but
it's 25 or 30, I think.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Honestly, I'm like, I could go into the Google Sheets and find the numbers, but we just fundraised among our family and friends, and I think we got really lucky.
You did? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, that's
in that
awesome.
way. So I think it was more of like a vote of confidence from our family and friends than investors. I think we honestly really had like high hopes that we could do the investor route. I'm really happy like we didn't go that way, because I think something that I'm realizing, especially if you're going to do the indie stuff and like if I want to make more shorts or films, features, who knows, but like, favors dry out. So favors dry out, and you can't ask a million times for the same thing. And on top of that, I just don't think shorts, there isn't necessarily an amazing ROI. We wanted to make this because we were like, this is a launch pad for hopefully our careers, and to have our names on something that's tangible that people can watch and say, oh, like,
that's really
cool.
This
is what Remi writes like, and this is what Sophie acts like. And, it's kind of like a living, breathing portfolio, which is pretty cool.
An awesome portfolio. To have something like that, that's so much better than like most people's like portfolio that they're kicking out there.
Like, especially as a writer, it's a lot easier to send someone a video and say, hey, watch this 13 minutes of your day, than read this, even if it's 10 pages, 13 pages, whatever. But I think, like a feature has so much more of an ROI potential, even an indie feature. So I think getting investors for that is not to say easy. I'm sure it's super difficult, and I'm like intrigued to learn more about that. But I think once we realized, okay, there's really no ROI on this that we can pitch. We didn't really have a plan for distribution or anything. And once we kind of learned more about what shorts do tend to make even for distribution, or like, I don't know that anyone's going to say, here you go, just have this large chunk of money. We don't know you, but we like the script. But like, your family and friends, it's coming from a place of excitement and happiness for you. And it's really like they're doing it as a donation and excitement for the project, and maybe getting a special thanks in the credits, which is nice. Yeah. And we gave like, if you give X amount, you get like a producer credit or associate producer credit, stuff like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. How did you feel going into the first day?
I felt so excited.
Was it excitement? Was it nerves? Was it, I guess like it felt like I was on set for most of it. And I would say like 60% of it. It seemed like you had a pretty active role, at least on set.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you're the writer of the whole thing. But I feel like some writers, they just sit back and be like, they're not really doing it, or they're not even there.
I think also, like, I don't know, like, the right way to even say this, but I feel like for Sophie and I, this was also sort of like a pay-to-play experience. Like, we had raised this money for an idea we were so excited about, and we wanted to be as hands-on as we could be, because that was the whole point of the project, is getting hands-on experience, getting a portfolio, yes, and having the end product was really important. But we wanted to also kind of just like be sponges and absorb as much as we could about the process, because she's been on a lot more sets than I have, but this was really my first set experience at all. And I'm just also like curious about every step, even if it's one I don't think I'm interested in. So I was really excited.
So pure excitement.
I was nervous because, as I mentioned, I'm tend to be late and I am disorganized. So I was waking up at like 3:30, like, shit, did I forget something? Like, I didn't want to forget anything, and I was nervous that I was going to leave something or that I was going to miss my alarm. So I kept waking up before my alarm.
Oh my God, I feel so honored. You were on time today. That's incredible. It's like such a compliment. But so you were excited. No nerves? God, I would be nervous.
I mean, truthfully, I feel like we were in such good hands, and I was like,
was it so okay? So you were in good hands. Did you have like a ton of planning going into each day? How much planning was involved going into day one?
Yeah, I mean, we had the director, we had a first AD. Like, I mean, you saw it was really
legit,
staffed up. So I felt like all the holes were really, everyone was in their place. And these are people, again, like, I was probably the most inexperienced person on the set. So that to me gave me a lot of confidence of like, these people know what they're doing. Everyone there has done this before. And it just made me feel like, okay, we're in good hands. And like, my job is to, I don't know, I do stuff as a producer, but I didn't feel like, I think also what I really appreciated is like our producers and executive producer, I think they knew how important this was to us, and it was such a passion project, and it was the first project we made, that I feel like they really gave us the opportunity. Like, I don't really know what the right word is, but I felt like they made sure that, okay, if there's a production thing that needs to be done and there's 5 producers around and PAs that could handle it, we won't tap Remi to do it, because we want her to get to stand and watch everything being shot. So I appreciated that they gave me, obviously there was a lot of responsibility and a lot of things on set that I did need to tend to, but also getting to have the experience of being like the writer and being like, I get to watch what I wrote sort of come to life. And I really appreciated that they kind of like did that for us. So that was really nice.
That's cool. What would be your biggest piece of advice for somebody that is going into like creating, maybe not like their first short where it's like, oh, we have, it's just 3 people with a camera just winging something together. Their first like legit produced short. What would you say? What would be some advice that you wish you had going into the shoot days?
I would say write a list again of everything you need to bring, and maybe even like put Post-its on things in your house. You see it, because we did forget some things. The one area that we didn't have a set designer. We just sort of had one of our producers and a friend, like as a favor, kind of was like the quasi art director. He's a super talented artist and storyboard artist, but we hadn't really budgeted a lot for that. So I think in the end, like day of, we realized, oh, like the light shines through this area weird, and we need something normal to, I don't know, like we need to put up a curtain, because there was, let's say, like a door, like a French door is with glass, and you could see behind it, and behind it was where we had stored all of the furniture that we had moved. So it was messy. We didn't want the camera going in there, but we hadn't thought about that. So the day before, we're like, okay, we need to run to Home Depot. Luckily, the Home Depot around here opens so early, so I was able to pick something up. But being prepared, I would say preparation does not hurt anyone. I feel like we did a lot of that, but even so, things come up last minute. And I guess just like be flexible and understanding that a lot of things are not probably going to go your way. This was kind of the story that I was going to tell before. Well, the log line is still coming to me, but essentially in the short, there's like a montage of the protagonist looking for an eligible bachelor, which Trey is in, and Kyle, because we had originally wanted to have, the original idea was someone that is like tall, and they turn around and they're actually have braces and are way too young and like age inappropriate. So that was the idea, but we realized braces would be too expensive, so let's just get a really tall guy that looks really young. We thought that could do it. And the guy who we had like hired to play the role just said he couldn't show up the day of. So we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And I feel like you have to be just very nimble in problem solving. We got so lucky, like everyone was texting their connections. Could anyone make it to, Larchmont? That was where we were shooting. Could anyone make it to Larchmont? Someone almost came, which was amazing. I drove and then ran up and down Larchmont. Like, I don't know, is it just called Larchmont Avenue, the street where all the shops are?
So.
And was like, look, does anyone want to act? And everyone there was like giving us weird looks like, what are you doing? We're like, are there any teen boys here who want to be in our film? It was not fruitful, but we did end up meeting someone at the farmer's market who was in college, I think Chapman or LMU, and was an actor. And he was working a stand at the farmer's market, and he was like, I'm really down, but I can't leave this shift. He was very committed to his job, so kudos to him. I forget his name, but he couldn't leave the stand alone, but he said he would have done it. So it wasn't a totally unfruitful attempt, but then we needed to think of like what could we put in the moment that is something that we have access to, that's free, and is a reason someone wouldn't be eligible. So Kyle took one for the team and let us spray him with water, so he looked excessively sweaty. But yeah, stuff like that. Like, I think being just get creative with your resources and what you have. And I think, again, like, I got lucky and our team got lucky because we had such experienced people who sort of knew how to like weather the storm and who are very, like you need producers on the set that are really going to make sure everything stays to plan. And the producer's job is to make sure, we stay on schedule, while maybe the director wants to take a lot more takes than we really have time allowing. So I feel like the nitty gritty of that I got to see, but I didn't really have to be like executing myself. But yeah,
I think that story of you running around shopping areas is just like the definition of what it's like shooting, whether it's a short or like something low budget. That's just what it feels like. I have another one like that. What?
If you like that one.
Yes.
It goes totally the other end of looking for old men. So we realized we have no older men to be in the background. And this is like, it's supposed to be a family event. Like, this film takes place at a
You can't just have all 29-year-olds.
Yeah, we can't have all. We need like a grandfather and some people of different range. It's supposed to be, again, a family event. You want people of all generations. So I had posted on my Instagram, like, if anyone knows men in LA 60 plus that would want to be in a short film, please reach out. It wasn't getting that many bites. It was also Super Bowl weekend, which was hard to get men that did not want to act because everyone likes to watch the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And our biggest shoot moment was on Super Bowl Sunday, was like the big end scene, which maybe it would have been better to do that Saturday, but it all worked out, so it's all good. But we were not getting any bites. So the Thursday before the shoot, I was like, how are we going to meet old men? I had a light bulb moment, and I realized you can set your range on Hinge to like 80 plus. So I set my Hinge to 60 plus, deal breaker. So no one under 60 would show up. I made the range very wide distance wise, and I started liking every man. And I sent them with the hi, I know this isn't what this app is used for, but I'm doing a short film. Would you have any interest in being in the background? And this is LA. So I got multiple people say I'm down, but what's the rate? I don't do featured background. I only do principal role.
Good God.
A lot of stuff like that. But I ended up taking There was probably like 5 men that said they were interested, and I called 3 of them, had conversations, didn't end up working because of the Super Bowl. And I honestly feel like, once you start getting like a little traction, things fall into place.
Yeah.
Once I did that, my cousin, someone at her temple, she had posted, and someone at her temple reached out and said, I love the arts. I would love to do that.
Oh my God.
So I don't know if you remember Mark. He was the older gen. That was, there. And he came through both days, crushed it.
Oh my God.
Not from Hinge, from my cousin. But I feel like, if we hadn't done that, I at least felt like I was doing something proactive in the meantime.
That I totally agree with that.
But I had to delete my Hinge after that because my algorithm, it was like,
just all.
It's like I'm telling the app I only like men older than 60. So I think it was confused after that. I tried to get it back to normal, but it was interesting. Got a lot of like, oh, I don't like to act, but I'd be down to
Jesus
take
Christ.
you to dinner.
Let's go to a drink. Oh
but honestly, I feel like that was really a funny thing, and it's a great story.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. I wish. I mean, I'm sure you had. That's fucking hilarious that they're just like, actually, no, I'm gonna need like a day rate for this.
Yeah.
I was like, old LA guys. They know too much.
I mean, it's LA,
The thing is,
everyone knows what's up.
The funny thing is, and which is kind of harmful to the industry right now, if you shoot somewhere else, say if you were to shoot in my hometown, you put out a request like that, they're like, yeah, I'll show. You guys have coffee there? No problem. I'll be there all day. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like it would be, no problem.
I feel like some friends of mine, there was something like, I don't know if it was a short or a feature. I honestly want to look it up because I remember the name, but they were somehow found this like casting call for background actors for this film, and they were so excited about it. It was only a 1-day shoot, but she was like, oh my God, it's so cool. Like I'm in a movie.
Yep. It means a lot. It doesn't mean much to 60-plus-year-olds in LA, but it means a lot to those in Iowa.
Totally.
So if you were, what were the hardest things? What was the hardest part, or was there anything that like didn't go your way that you wish you could change about the short process, whether it's, during or after, or even the you guys have done a lot of festivals and stuff. Is there anything you wish you could go back and change where that was hard?
Yeah, I think also just like something that I feel like Sophie and I definitely weren't super aware of is just, again, like the money, and things add up that you think like, oh, everything, we have the budget. But things add up. Like we had a day where we're like, everyone's honestly tired and no one wants coffee right now. Later in the day. So we need to go and get Celsius and like Gatorade and stuff like that. So like little things like that where it's like, these aren't sweeping huge expenses, but things do go wrong. And like if something breaks, like we had props break, and just, I think knowing that budget and maybe more money than you think you're going to need, just so you're not like hit with all these costs after the fact. I think that was like a little stressful, truthfully. And again, they weren't huge expenses, but it really is where it's like everything adds up.
Yeah, absolutely. How was the festival run, or how has that been? Because you guys have been doing it for ever since you released it.
Yeah. So once we released it, our first festival was called LA Shorts Film Festival last July, which I think you came to. Yeah, that was our premiere. That was a lot of fun. The festival circuit has been really cool. We have done a lot of like local LA festivals, and I'm trying to think. I think at this point, our only one outside of LA has been Miami Jewish Film Festival, which was amazing. That's like the biggest Jewish film fest in the country, I believe. So that was a really cool experience. They do a lot of big features as well. So it was really cool. I went to Miami for that. It was actually right after, like, right the week that the fires started in LA.
Oh, geez.
So it was kind of crazy, but it was a really cool experience. I went to some events there. Yeah. They really go all out. It's like a big festival. And most of our film festivals we've been in here have been short film festivals, which are amazing. But I think, again, it's like when you're in a festival where there's big features and there's distribution potential, it just like attracts a different crowd. And I think someone actually in our short I spoke to him about the festival circuit, cousin Aaron, aka Hunter, if you remember him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me, which I've totally seen, like, you know, when you go to Miami, kind of like what you were saying with Iowa and Connecticut, obviously Miami has a huge creative scene, but in LA, it's like when you go to a lot of these festivals, a lot of people live in LA, work in LA, so you know everything is after work, and everyone's like, I'll swing by if I can, and I might not be able to make this because of work or that, but it's like in Miami, this is a huge film event, and so people really come out and show up, and like it attracts so many people because I feel like LA, for better or worse, there is so much amazing entertainment happening all the time that, you know, LA shorts might not draw out as big of a crowd just because there's so many amazing film festivals that kind of come through the city at any given time. We had an amazing crowd. It was like I think it was a full house for when we had our premiere there. So that was really exciting.
Yeah.
And that was like a really, really well attended festival. But yeah, it's been interesting. And since then, we've got like a lot of interest from other Jewish film festivals around the country, which is exciting. But yeah, it's been fun. We got an award at the Miami Jewish Film Fest, which was cool.
That's so cool.
Audience choice, best short film. Let's go. But yeah, it's been very like validating, I guess, of like keep moving.
Sure. How do you feel? So you finished up the short. I mean, you're kind of, do you feel like it's kind of, I mean, are you still out for some like festivals
and stuff? Yeah, I think we're
like,
sort of like done with applying. Like I think at the end of this year, we wouldn't be able to be applying anymore anyways, I foresee. Because a lot of festivals have limits on, you have had to make this project from like 2023 on, like you can't necessarily submit something you made in 2020.
Sure.
Different festivals have different limits on that, I believe, but we still have some that we've applied to, and jury's still out, but I don't think we'll be necessarily like applying to a bunch more because we're kind of nearing the end of that. But
when you're trying to decide which festivals, or what do you think of festivals? Like when you're really, I know it's like really great to put like on your IMDb page. Is that like mainly what you're trying to get?
I mean, truthfully, I feel like this process for us has been a lot of like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
Like we didn't necessarily have a super fleshed out plan of here are the festivals we need to get into, because I think we didn't necessarily have a super specific idea of like this is 100% what we want to get out of this experience. I think what we both, Sophie and I, wanted to get out of this experience is, again, as I mentioned, the portfolio, the experience of just like being on a set and having creative control in the process, and then just meeting other filmmakers and networking and, you know, possibly meeting reps and distribution people, etc. So
did you find some of that, or how did you find the like festival circuit, like networking or management wise?
Yeah, definitely feel like what it has been more of is like meeting other filmmakers, which has been really cool, because I think, again, like we keep talking about connections, but especially in a city like LA, like you never know who's going to need what. And I feel like when I go to these festivals, everyone follows each other on Instagram, and then you never know, like someone might put a casting call and they'll say, oh, I need an actor, XYZ dates, or I need a PA. And I do feel like there's a lot of sort of, you know, mutual like help and opportunity there. Yeah. And it's really cool. Just meet other people that are doing creative things, kind of like hear what people do, how they spend their days, what level they're at in their career and on their path.
Absolutely.
But I've definitely found it to be more of a sort of networking amongst similar, like the creative side, filmmaker side, rather than meeting people like agents and managers on the business side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hard. Are you currently represented or anything like that?
I'm a free agent.
There you go. Free agent.
Open call.
But I mean, is that a big deal for writers? I mean, it's everything for actors, or at least it seems like it's everything for actors.
Again, everything I'm saying is really just from talking to people that I know, because I've never had a conversation with an agent or manager about repping me. Like I've talked to agents and managers that are my friends about the process and trying to understand it.
Sure.
But I think as a writer, there are just, and same with acting, I'm sure, but there's just so many avenues sort of like so many different ways that your career could start. A lot of people sort of like start at the mailroom, get staffed on a show as an assistant, get a staff writer job. There's some people that get an agent and they get them right to a staff writer job. And this is just talking about TV.
Yeah.
Some people, you know, they maybe write something amazing and an agent like hip pockets it. So the agent is essentially saying, I'm not ready to manage you yet, but I think this project rocks and I want to shop it around as representing the project and you, I guess, by proxy on that project. Sure. And if anyone sees this that's an agent or manager and I'm fudging anything up, you can course correct you can correct me. I could be very wrong. But to my knowledge, I think it's really important in that way. Like I think agents, I mean, you've been to these slam dance events. I feel like both times I've went, they have the same, it's like packaged in a different presentation, but agents and managers as the gatekeepers of the industry. And I really do think that's true. But yeah, so that's why it's important.
It is important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, things are so weird right now. I come from, I've done a lot of things, probably too many things for too little time. But I was hard into the acting thing, especially like last year. And I was full into, I did get some like representation and stuff. Also trying to get not great representation. There's in the acting world, there's like representation. It's like you may as well just not be represented. But there's also like you do these like casting things where it's like you have an agent on and you do a scene in front of them.
Yeah.
And then you reach out. This happened to me 3 times. You have conversations with them. Everything's cool. It's not like right now, but like maybe down the road, you reach out a month later, that agency is gone.
Oh, wow.
Happened multiple times.
Happens
like
fast.
Places like Ruskin.
I've
there was just
heard
like
of that one.
What's that?
Did it dissolve?
Ruskin, yeah.
I feel like it sounds familiar.
It was one of the decent ones.
Oh,
not
wow.
like a great one, but it was decent. But it's just like it's interesting. Agents and agencies and that whole world. It's still important today. I do feel like it's shrinking a little bit. Maybe not as needed as much anymore.
I think like at least a lot of writers I know have managers but not agents. So I think like a manager that is really like vying for you and really wants you to succeed, they can probably hustle to like find you projects. I don't know at what point like an agent is necessary, but again, what I'm feeling and seeing is like when you have commercial potential to like make the agent money, that's kind of they're there to wheel and deal for you a little, and make the contracts and stuff like that, or sign. I don't know. I'm not really legal like that, so I don't know the proper terms. But
how do you feel? How do you feel being here, or how do you feel like the industry is right now towards writers? How do you feel about things?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
because you see. Sorry,
oh no, you're good.
You see so many different like. Maybe it's just my algorithm. You see so many Hollywood reporters. You see so many different things, like varieties, that everything is just plummeting. I saw this weird article about like people saying that like Sinners did bad, but Sinners had like great box office returns. And it's just like maybe it's just like fear mongering, and these certain publications are kind of like feeding on that. But there is this general consensus that things are on the downturn. Yeah, especially in Los Angeles. How do you feel about it? Or the current state?
I mean, I do feel like I'm kind of on the outside of things just because like the work I do day to day, I feel pretty like insulated as much as I can keep up on my own from, the day to day of like what it's like to really be in the weeds of the industry. Yeah. But I will say like I am always reaching out to people in my network, still looking, hashtag open to work. And I am getting that feedback a lot of like, I am literally not hearing of any jobs. A lot of people I know who are successful and have worked in the business for a while are struggling to get the jobs that they want. But what I've found is like, I don't know, I guess and I think this extends beyond just entertainment, but like it just kind of feels like the state of everything right now, like at large, is just blah. But everything goes in cycles. It's like, I think it's probably hard at our age, especially, like our professional career has sort of been marred by this and COVID, and it feels like a lot, but it's like, if you look at like the past 100 years, there's ebbs and flows all the time in any industry, not even in industry, just in like the state of the world. And I feel like that sounds like, oh, whatever, not to make it seem like it's not a problem. It obviously is, but I think for me, just being cognizant of that is like, I don't feel like that is a reason to give up, because there are still things being made, and there are still, people still want to watch stuff. There's still
Yes.
like a desire for content. And I think like everyone, I don't know, I want to watch stuff. So if I want to watch stuff, I know other people do. And I think that's not going to go away. And like, whether it's fear mongering or realistic, I do think there's 100% validity to like everything that's happening. And again, I feel like quite a bit of an outsider, and that's probably why it maybe hasn't affected me as much, because my work that I'm still doing day to day, like I'm still doing freelance work, in kind of like across any industry. And even that sometimes is like, there's a downturn of a lot of companies are like, oh, well, we don't want to spend as much money on freelance because things aren't looking great for us right now. But it's like, what other option do we have? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a positive way to look at it. But you kind of, again, I do think that not only, there's trends, tastes also change.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like people are starting to come out of the short stuff, like whether it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. I feel 100%. Like people are, and I told Kyle about this, I'm big into Brick. Do you know what Brick is?
No.
It's where you tap your phone. It takes like all of your social media apps and stuff away from you.
You tap it?
You literally, I should be sponsored by them. This is the second time I've talked about that. There's an app on your phone. You put all the different social media
in
apps.
A Brick?
No, it's called Brick.
Okay.
So then you put all the social media apps you don't want access to. For me, that's someone that like works from home.
Okay.
You go and tap your phone to this brick.
Oh, it's a physical.
Yeah, that's so that it like creates another barrier of entry where like I have to tap my phone to this brick if I want to get on TikTok.
That is interesting. Okay, so I have an
app
called
it's humongous.
Opal.
Yeah. I think it's similar. It's humongous. They've made so much money off this.
But
fucking
Opal is Opal's like $100 a year. But at first I was like, that's crazy. But then I realized like, I am probably wasting more than $100 worth of my time, like that I could be doing other productive things. So I bit the bullet, and I'm really glad I have it. But you can bypass it on your own. It just makes you feel bad about it. But
what does it do to make you feel bad about it?
Well, you have to like, so you can set different time sort of like blockers.
Yeah.
So I have it set of like, you choose the apps you want it to block.
Mm-hmm.
And then you choose the duration. And if you want to take a break, you pretty much click take a break, and it says like, it doesn't say are you sure, but it's like count down until you want a break.
Yeah.
And then you can set it to different levels. So there's like easy, medium, and hard. And if you set it to hard, I think it makes that time between when you click you want a break to when you can actually access the break longer.
Yeah.
I think there might even be limits on breaks on the difficult version. I've done the difficult, and I was like, this is too hard, because sometimes there's emergencies where I'm like, I need to get to my text.
Right.
And you can always do leave early, which just gets rid of blocking for the rest of the day, and then you can reset it if you need. But when you try to open an app and the Opal is working, it'll say something like, put down your phone in like not preachy, but sort of like a funny way.
Yeah.
It's like Michael Cera doesn't open his phone or something like that. Or like TikTok is for schmucks, dash Shakespeare, something like that.
But I think there's more stuff, like people are becoming a little bit more cognizant of that. Of these ultra tech companies that are just literally making these things to get us addicted. So
that's the hard thing, because I kind of feel like in the same way that's like seems like the new frontier of like where people are making content is social media.
Yeah.
So it is like a weird, I find that I've kind of been to like weighing the pros and cons of
have you thought, I mean, obviously I'm doing a fucking podcast, but have you thought about like writing? I know a bunch of people that have gotten famous off of it. That's literally their bread and butter, but they do daily sketches.
Yeah,
Because you're a
thought
comedy
about
writer
it.
and you could write pretty easily.
I have thought about it, but I'm not good at acting. But
Sure.
I have people that want to act, and I do feel like, though, I don't know, I'm just like have a hesitancy towards social media. I feel like for all the reasons we've already said, and it's addicting, and
Yeah.
when I have it on my phone, I just scroll. But I do think like people are so funny. Even TikToks that aren't like sketches, there is such funny stuff out there. And sometimes I scroll and I'm like, I just wasted so much time. But actually, it was not a waste at all because I have laughed so much. And like my feed is wholesome. It's a lot of cooking videos and hilarious people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely thought about it. Just because, again, I feel like when you're in a state of like, when is the opportunity going to happen for me? It does feel really good to be actively doing something that at least makes you feel like, okay, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Like, I'm obviously writing stuff at home, but until even when that is ready, it's like it can take so long for anything to happen with that, if anything at all.
Sure.
So I've definitely thought about it. And Ariel, Ariel and I actually, I think have been talking because she is an actress. She does great accents. We've been talking about writing sketches together, and just putting them out there. So
that'd be great.
Yeah, she just went viral on a TikTok. I'll show you.
Did she?
I'll show you later. Yeah, I don't have TikTok on my phone right now because I always delete it. But
I do too.
Okay, well if you have it, I can find it.
That's fine.
But yeah, so I've thought about that, and I feel like, I don't know. There's also a lot of like, I think, resistance to that in general of people like, is that the right way to get your voice out there? Is it? I don't know, but I guess you don't really know until like something works.
I don't know. I really don't know, and I would love to have like some people kind of like that on, because I know of certain social media pages that do really well. They do like mostly sketch comedy, and I know of one. They got $1 million to make a movie last year.
Oh my God.
But a lot of these comedy writers, they turn to like horror. So they made this
scary movie vibes.
No, like actually horror. But that's still comedic a little bit. Kind of like thinking of like Jordan Peele.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. But they made this like movie on their own. It, probably cost them a couple $100 to make and put it on YouTube. But they had such a huge following and people fucking love them. So a ton of people watched it, gained a lot of support, got $1 million from a producer.
Wow.
But that does not, and I don't know what distribution, because I know of this other social media guy. He's more of a cinematographer, wrote and directed his movie, and I don't think it did very well. And I don't think it wasn't received very well, and things have kind of paused for him. So it's a really interesting to like use your platform as you get famous for like doing these like sketch things. Can you turn it into movies, TV shows where you really make like bigger money, which I think a lot of these people want to do. It's just the translation. We haven't seen a ton of like success stories from it yet, but I do think that could be the next thing.
For actors though, have you there are so many people that are on social media that end up getting roles.
Because they have a lot of followers.
Followers are hilarious. Even if their stuff like, do you know Jake Shane, Therapist?
Fuck no.
Watch his podcast. It's amazing. If he watches this, I love you, and I just saw you at Brentwood Farmers Market, but I didn't say hi.
Jake what?
Jake Shane.
Jake Shane.
Like, he just does really funny... He does these really funny sketches. I'll show you after as well. Okay. And he does reviews of, like, eating octopus and writing it. But he, I think, is on an episode of Hacks this season. I haven't seen the episode yet. I just started the new season. But that, and then I'm trying to think of who else. Like, someone else I think was on Hacks. There's just so many people that I've seen from TikTok to TV. I don't know if you know Benny Drama, if you've seen those posters around for this new Prime Video show called Overcompensating. He does hilarious sketches. Like during COVID, he was doing such funny sketches.
Okay.
And I don't know the timeline of like if this was happening before he kind of popped off, like when he was writing the show, but it is cool. And I think that is kind of like what gives me hope on the going back to like the state of the industry. I think change is really hard, obviously, to weather, and it's like disheartening in many ways, but then also seeing that, okay, there is this new avenue, and I think if you can look at that and be like, maybe this is foreign to me, but this is a new avenue that seems to have a lot of promise.
Yeah.
I think that does give me hope of like, okay, maybe how things will happen is going to change, how, you know, you get your first gig and how things take off, but
yeah.
I think that people who see it and take advantage are, you know, I think it's smart. And I'm honestly now, I'm like, I feel like I should go text Ariel and be like, we got to do those sketches, girl.
I would love to see him. I also, and I might cut this because it's specific.
Yeah,
I just want to talk specific. So there's these guys, they are like incredibly interested, like they want to be in TV and movies, and I can tell that they're like kind of frustrated with, they work for an internet like media company. It's called Almost Friday. And
Elise Guilfoyle?
Yeah, Elise and Will.
She is so funny.
They're the funniest people around here.
I actually know someone here who I think used to write with her.
Really?
I don't know if they still do, but.
And I know, and I think, and I heard rumors the other day that they're working on this show with Tony Yacenda, who is one of the funniest guys. I also reached out
to them recently. I was like, "Can you hire me?"
Did you really? Well, they're fun.
They're someone at Almost Friday to connect me.
Yeah, those are just one of those hard jobs. But they do all these incredible sketches, and they're talking. I think they recently said, this just came out recently, that they're working with this guy named Tony Yacenda, who has done shows like, my personal favorite is American Vandal on Netflix.
Okay.
Where it does. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
It's a hilarious show. It's like Jimmy Tatro was on it, and it's about how this high school, like they treat it as this like true crime drama TV show of who drew the dicks on all the cars and the teachers.
Is so funny.
You should go watch it.
But isn't he too? Wasn't Jimmy Tatro like a YouTube personality, and then he became an actor?
He was.
And like now, I feel like we're at the point where if you looked at him, you would just think he's an actor. Like I remember seeing Blue Mountain State. Wasn't he in it? No, he wasn't in Blue Mountain State.
He was in some very similar.
Someone
it was a movie.
Like him, though. That's in it.
Yeah, well, he was in 21 Jump Street.
Ah.
Yes. So he was like the football guy.
Yeah, and now it's like you would associate him with acting over his YouTube career, I would say.
It's just hard. I know of people that like to do the switch. To make the switch. To know, because they like, whether they're on podcasts a lot, because there is a thing like used to be in Hollywood where you don't see actors unless they're on screen.
Yeah.
And like there's this rarity, and that I still think that, like it's very true that like there's something special about seeing Leonardo DiCaprio on the screen because you don't hear from him.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, same sort of thing. But now as these people like they have to be on podcasts to be able to get there. Are they ever going to be able to be big stars? I mean, I know Timothée Chalamet went around and did all the podcast rounds and stuff, but I just think it's such an interesting time to see if those guys who are the most talented people around here, if they can figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them are starting podcasts too.
Yeah. So they do.
That's one of my new faves, the Amy Poehler podcast.
Yeah. So many celebrities also just have like podcasts and stuff. So, yeah.
And there are big people sitting across the table.
I know.
It is interesting, like seeing the shift. But I guess it is like, okay, well, if these really successful big actors, writers, producers, etc., are doing it, why wouldn't little old me take advantage of the same mediums, you know? Because I do think, like you're saying, there's a lot of like hesitancy around social media. I think people see it as like not the right way to, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think people sometimes see it as like, oh, that's not the right way. Like I have to go the traditional route, and this is what I learned in school, or if I went to film school, but you know, it's just like the world changes, totally, and like changing. Everyone, you know, so many amazing, successful, super smart people have podcasts and Instagram lives, and all these they're taking advantage of what's out there, and sometimes it's like if we don't like.
Right.
Who knows?
Where I want this all to go into is that like it's okay that the person that has a podcast also has a sick TV show on Hulu. You
Is
know?
that what you are telling me you are about to make?
No.
A TV show on Hulu.
No.
The big reveal, people.
No. No. But I'm just trying to be positive about these things. Because a lot of people say that, like, it's just moving. Everything's just moving into podcasts and sketch comedy stuff on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
I hope they can cohabitate.
I mean, I feel like we are the generation of, like, the multi-hyphenate is a thing.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Like, I was actually talking to a friend about this. I forget when, but in the past week. And it wasn't even related to entertainment. It was just like, I feel like I like so many different things and I do so many different things. And sometimes that's hard to be like, okay, you know, I think in our parents' generation and generations before, it was a lot more common to just have one career. Like, your career path is stable throughout, you know, your entirety of adulthood. It's like, okay, I'm a banker, or I'm an accountant, or a marketer, or I don't know, all these different corporate stable jobs. But now it's like, even in corporate jobs, like, people hop from job to job a lot more frequently. People try different things, and people, you know, do part-time consulting on the side of their full-time job. And I think it's just a lot more common to do a lot. So it's not even really just an entertainment thing.
Right. And I think sometimes with us millennials, or like we're like on the edge of it, right? Millennials and Gen Z, right?
Yeah. I think like
96 is like right there. I think we still feel some of that pressure to be just one.
Yeah, 100%. I totally do. Like, I have a website.
So you feel kind of guilty if you do all this, like, and you're like not good at anything, but because you're doing a million things. But
yeah, like so my younger brother is still in college, and he always is hounding me because I have a website that has been under construction for like months, because I just struggle so hard to take all of the things that I feel like I am and that I can do and put it into like one succinct identity, which, like, I don't think we need that necessarily, but I'm like, okay, how do I pitch that being a screenwriter is really my end goal, but I also need to make money doing marketing, and I'll do it in any industry. It doesn't have to be entertainment. So like, finding the way to sort of package yourself can definitely feel stressful, but at the same time, I'm like, I guess it doesn't need to be perfectly packaged, you know?
Right.
Like, you can do a lot of things and be good at a lot of different things, and that's cool.
That's fine. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with everything that's changing, it's okay that we're also just like changing 100%. And trying different things.
Yeah.
Even though I do feel like I'm 29.
Yeah.
You're 28. It feels old.
Yeah.
Do you feel old, or do you feel young?
I honestly feel young.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel old. Maybe that's just because, like, Midwest thing.
Yeah.
Where I have friends with 4 kids.
Yeah. I definitely think, like, my friends across the board, I don't think I have any friends even with child yet. I have some married friends.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I think especially being here, like, I moved here when I was 25, so not that that was old at all, but, like, it wasn't right out of college, and I feel like a lot of my friends are, like, even 28 in a city like LA, like, if you want to work in entertainment specifically, I think it takes, you know, a lot of people, like, a long time. Like, you hear a lot of stories. Obviously, you hear stories about someone who writes something amazing and pops off at 25 or 27 or 31, but there's also a ton of people who don't hit their stride until they're in their late 30s, 40s, even 50s.
Sure.
And they're still major success stories. So
yeah,
I think in that way, I feel like, okay, I got time. And just in general, like, life-wise, I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still kind of figuring everything out. And sometimes that does scare me, of, like, I always talk about this with my friends. Like, I honestly thought by the time we all turned 30, we'd all be, like, married, and we'd be so successful in our jobs, and we'd be, like, going on couples trips to Greece on, like, a boat, because we all were crushing it in our corporate careers. And now I'm like, oh, okay, it's looking different, but it's still looking good. Okay.
But
yeah, we're still great, but it's just different. Like, I think that is just something. I don't know why I thought that, because I don't know why that, like, to me 30 seemed like things would be so settled by the time we're 30. But I don't know.
I think for me, it's like, being happy with, like, I mean, look around us. Like, LA gets a bad rap, but it's fucking awesome. It's so beautiful. It's like great people here. There's so many fun things to do. Like, looking at your life, like, all aspects.
Totally.
And, like, not just being like, God damn it, why haven't I been in, like, a movie?
Yeah.
Or why haven't I made that movie? Or, like,
100%.
why don't I have more followers? Or something, like, stupid. Like, it's, I don't know. It feels trivial. And
no, yeah. I mean, also, like, it's taken me a long time, I feel like, to have this mindset. But I do think that it is... your life becomes a lot better when you're, like, really, like you said, grateful for all the things you do have instead of worrying about all the things you don't have, because worrying does not change the fact that you don't have those things. It's like, okay, am I going to sit around and cry that I don't have a job, or am I going to go get on my computer and open Indeed and LinkedIn and finally get my website off construction mode and actually do something about it? You know, like, worrying doesn't really move the needle. It just makes you feel bad about yourself, truthfully, I think.
God damn, Remi, you got me fired up. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because I've kept you here for too long, what are you working on right now?
I am working on writing my first feature, which has been very exciting. It's like a rom-com classic.
Hell yes.
Rom-com vibes. So.
Are you just working on this?
Yeah. This is honestly just because I feel like I have a lot of ideas that I have not put pen to paper on, and now I feel like that the festival stuff is cooling down, have more time, and I want to just have, like, a strong portfolio that feels like we get a sense of who she is. And I think that's kind of, for me, the next step of, like, once I have a lot of sort of portfolio of work that I think I'm proud of and that I feel good about, then I can sort of start having conversations with, like, managers and agents. Whether or not that does anything, you never know, but
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your biggest dream?
My biggest dream would be to write, like, create, showrun my own TV show. I love TV, and I feel like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about TV, but I have so many memories coming home after school, watching Full House, getting to watch Friends with my older cousins, and feeling really cool because it was like PG-13, I think, or TV-13, whatever, or TV-MA, and I was like 7. Sorry. But yeah, I just love TV, and I love comedy, so a comedy TV show, definitely.
Awesome. Well, Remi, thank you so much for doing this. You're the best for coming on.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. This was really fun.
Yes. Okay.
My first podcast.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
Bye.
See you next time.
So tired.